Shalom and welcome to day 48 of the Counting of the Omer blog. And there's great excitement right now because that means tomorrow is the last one. So we are literally crawling to the end line of all of this and just really trying to think now for these last couple of blogs what kind of thoughts we put in, because that's it. Once we get to Shavuot, this long chain of thoughts comes to an end. So I've really been trying to condense some of my ideas and thoughts into this. I want to give you a quote today by someone who you've probably never heard of, but is a man by the name of Samuel Holtheim. And I want to just quote him for you. He says this: "It is the messianic task of Israel to make the pure knowledge of God and the pure law of morality of Judaism the common possession and blessing of all the peoples of the earth." I think most of us would say amen to that. Sounds like a wonderful thing, doesn't it, really? And you think, well, who is this man and what's his background and what's he trying to say? Well, actually, I mean, what he's saying is something which is absolutely constant to Judaism. There's nothing we're surprised by that in many, many ways. That is the kind of global messianic vision and view of what Judaism is, to reach out in this way to share this and make it a blessing for all the peoples of the earth. Actually, Samuel Holtheim was an early Reform leader. I say so early here, I'm going to quote you the actual date from 1862. So a really early date from all of this, but he was one of the early Reform leaders. He's quoted in this book here from Lawrence Epstein on the theory and practice of welcoming converts to Judaism, all about Jewish universalism. You know, it's one of my favorite topics at the minute. This is one of the books that will be quoted extensively in my own Messianic Jewish version of this view of Jewish universalism, as I'm coming to the end of that. But this is Reform thinkers. Really, well, they were doing this from a secularized version of this inclusivist Judaism as the faith that it is. It was very secularized, but nevertheless, they wanted to bring challenge and change and renewal and to bring out this Messianic task to spread the good news of what Judaism embodies in itself, the goodness, the righteousness, the justice, holiness, mercy, kindness, and everything else that is Judaism, and share it with the world. And these Reformed Jewish thinkers went about this, though, in an interesting way. And I just want to quote again here from the same book, and it says this: "Reformed Jews saw their new Judaism as fully capable of being acceptable to the entire world, while simultaneously saving that world." It's an interesting concept. And of course, we can beg the question on this, whether this would ever really work in any way, shape or form, because you can't challenge if you mimic and become acceptable. This is the bottom line in all of this. And as Reformed Judaism attempted to mimic the world in its attitudes and understandings and approaches, I guess in some ways it became a lot weaker in challenging the world in this way. If you copy the world, you end up being like the world. And secularism, as you know, really kind of seeped into that Reformed Jewish thinking. And it's not just the casualness of the superficial culture attitudes. It sinks deeply into the very intellectual understanding the structure of how we think and approach the world and see the world in many, many ways. If you mimic it, it becomes difficult to challenge. So trying to be acceptable to the world means you no longer have your cutting edge, if you want to put it like that. To save, you have to be different. You can't bring change if you are the same. But nevertheless, he makes an important point. This was the messianic edge of Judaism, he says, that we should have this role and this calling. And so he also says that, of course, as Reformed Judaism, he was establishing, or it wasn't just him, but the Reform people at the beginning of that movement, then they were really establishing a new Judaism, what they saw as a new type of Judaism that had this special message to carry to the world. They were afraid to break their links in that way with Rabbinic Judaism and Orthodoxy. They knew renewal was needed, and they knew they had to do something with Judaism to bring this understanding in, very much as Messianic Judaism is doing today, that actually Messianic Jews are not just mimicking Rabbinic Judaism, or should I say we shouldn't be. If we mimic Rabbinic Judaism because we may feel that we're accepted in some way, or that we're not quite as controversial within Rabbinic Judaism, you know what, I've got news. We will never be fully accepted by Rabbinic Judaism. As long as we hold on to Messiah Yeshua, we are not going to be accepted. But therefore, we have to have the courage, it seems to me, to actually establish the Judaism Yeshua taught as a Judaism, be willing to step out as Reformed Judaism did, as Liberal Judaism did, as the Masorti, as the modern Orthodox, all the other strands of Jewish thinking that we've got in our modern day. Each one of these had the guts to step out and say, we need to change, we need to do something, we've got to approach this in a different way. And they weren't afraid to step out, adapt, change, and build a new Judaism around this. Messianic Judaism desperately needs to do this and get into that same game zone as other Judaisms are right now, to take part in this great grand renewal of what Judaism can be and should be. We're not going to be accepted within Rabbinic Judaism. In fact, the more we mimic and copy Rabbinic Judaism, the harder it gets to challenge it, because we're effectively challenging ourselves. And I have this final thought possibly on this. And if Rabbinic Judaism is so good that we have to just copy it all the time, then why aren't we just going to cross over and be Rabbinic Jews? The difference, of course, is because of Yeshua. Because Yeshua makes all the difference, and we cannot let him go. But as long as we hold on to Yeshua, we're never going to be accepted in the fold. So it's time to have the guts. Exactly as Samuel Holtzheim said here, to see the power of what Judaism can be and wrap it into Messianic Judaism through Yeshua's teaching, and then have the strength and the courage to go and fulfill the great commandment, to go out into all the world, the Great Commission, to go out into all the world. Teach people what Yeshua has taught us. Make followers of these people. Immerse them. Bring salvation into their lives. Affect the Gentile world and change the Gentile world for good with the power of what Judaism is, can and should be. It's called Jewish Universalism, and Yeshua was deeply involved with it, as was Rav Shaul. It's time not just to relinquish the ground to our rabbinic brothers and our Orthodox brothers and sisters, nor even to the Reform and Liberal. We have to fight for the ground that Yeshua taught on, to declare the truth of what Yeshua taught and declare it loud and clear in these last days. Thank you for listening. There's one more of these to come tomorrow before we wrap up. So thank you to Dara Bali, Tros, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.